This is the Man in a Room podcast.
This is Man in a Room. It is a podcast, You're listening to Man in a Room.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Man in a Room. I'm so sorry it's taken me so long to make an episode. My goodness, it's been 2 months, and I apologise for that, but there's many reasons for what has happened. The main one is, as you're well aware, well maybe not well aware, but my laptop just went, it just went rubbish. It wouldn't work, it just broke, it's just So I've been trying to sort of record episodes on that. It wasn't really working out too well for me really, which is a bit annoying, but there we are. So ended up, I bought myself a new desktop PC very cheaply, I'd like to say, as someone who is very thrifty. It's a thrifty little pickup I got here, lovely jubbly, right? So I've now got a desktop computer to record stuff on, which is pretty neat. And it's actually a lot better as well, which is really handy. But I got lost in the technology. I was like, wow, I need to try and get this show as produced as possible. I thought, I'm not going to use the software that I've used for the last however many years. Oh, no. Not going to do that. I'm going to try and use the weird software that I have no understanding on. It sounds amazing, it looks amazing, but does it do the job? The answer is no. I can't work out how to use it, so until I can work that out, I'm back into using my old trusty software, Audacity, as it's just one of those things I've used for so many years, it's ridiculous, so I'm back to using that. Although I have picked up a few tips on how to record a bit better. This is a bit behind the curtain stuff, but I want to just share it with you, so it does sound a bit different. Because of all those things, you see, I've learned things and I'm impressed with the way it's going. So, shush, behind the curtain. Anyway, so what I have actually been up to? So many things. I had a minor accident. Don't worry, it wasn't life-threatening, but it was life-threatening in a certain way because my mum wasn't very happy with me. So, because of what's been going on, I've been doing a lot more video chatting and all that kind of stuff, because it's just easier. You can't go to people's houses, people can't come to your house, so it's a case of you have to video chat. And I was chatting with my mum on the video chat, and I was cooking my tea, which is usually something I do, you see. I get home from work, it's quite late, and I speak to both my mum and my dad, but my mum has it generally in front of her, because, my dad doesn't like being on camera much like me. So I was just chatting all that kind of stuff. I was chopping onions, you see. And as I was doing that, I was like, oh, and I accidentally cut my finger. And my first thought was, what? This knife is sharp? Because as a general rule, my knives are never very sharp. To the point where it's like, does it matter which knife I use in this house? No. But it turns out it is actually a sharp knife. So I was like, okay, that's pretty good. So I was like, right, fine, no problem. And then I started bleeding. Now the problem is, when I bleed, I really bleed. Just one of those things that happen when I give blood. Actually, they're like, wow, you get through really quick, and all that kind of stuff. And I always sort of maintain that I heal very quickly and all that kind of stuff. But I was like, that is a massive gash. I was like, that better not get infected, because it was a bit not deep, but it's like deep enough to warrant me being like, oh, that better not get infected, kind of stuff. So I was like, right, what I'm gonna do? I'm going to find some plasters. Do I have any plasters? No. Not a single plaster is in this house. It's ridiculous. So I was like, fine, whatever. And so I was like, right, I need to disinfect it somehow. And I was like, right, there's hand gel aplenty in this house at the minute because of what's going on, all that kind of thing. I was like, right, this is going to sting. This is going to sting a lot, but it's going to kill any bacteria that's inside that wound. I have to do it. It's going to sting, but I have to do it. So I was like, right, here we go. I kept rubbing it, and I had a little bit of cotton pad. I was like, right, wipe. Sweet. I'm convinced there's no germs in there now. I'm almost 100% sure. And so I was like, right, improvise a plaster. Bit of kitchen roll, some sellotape. Excellent, you see. All that kind of stuff. My mum was like, how come we've not got any antiseptic wipes? How come you haven't got any of this? How come you haven't got any of that? So if, and all this kind of stuff. You should be paying attention. You should be playing with knives. You should be fully immersive in what you're doing rather than chatting to me and all this kind of stuff. And so my mum was actually decided to get me a first aid kit, which is probably important because I'm not particularly accident prone, but I can be somewhat prone to an accident occasionally. That's from my mum's side. That's probably why she's up on the old first aid. Although saying that, it only happened maybe 2 weeks ago. Already healed. Like, it's already like you can't even notice I was cut, which is nuts considering that, you know, it was quite a deep cut. I find that the human body is fascinating, isn't it? The fact that you can just cut yourself and eventually it just heals. Obviously, I'm maybe one of the lucky people. There are obviously people out there who are not as fortunate as having healable attributes. But there we go. So anyway, that happened. And the other thing I did was I defrosted my freezer. Now you're thinking, why are you talking about your freezer being defrosted? I've never defrosted a freezer in my entire life. I mean, I've attempted it, but I was like, So basically, long story short, I've had the same fridge freezer now for about 5 years, and I've never bothered defrosting it. And it got to the point, right, where the freezer door wouldn't shut because there's a massive build-up at the top of the freezer of just ice. And I was like, right, so this needs to go somehow. So I thought, oh, this won't take very long, all this kind of stuff. So I thought, right, get out my bowls of hot water. I got like a washing up bowl, put loads of hot water in that. So I hope the steam would sort of let it drip down. Not quickly, but it's the presence of the hot water will melt all what's going on. And luckily, I actually had a freezer bag. You know those bags you get from the supermarket where you get like, you buy like a load of food at once, but it's like insulated, so you don't have to let your food get defrosted slightly. So I had one of those. I shoved everything in my freezer into that, and I was actually very surprised at how much I hadn't had in my freezer for such a long time. But it was actually pretty good. I got to itemize everything that's in my freezer. So it's like, right, shoved all that in there. And I'm not even joking. It was hours and hours and hours. I was like, this is a ridiculous thing. I've never defrosted a freezer. There's frost in here that is older than my niece. And, well, yeah, my niece. My niece is 2. So, well, she's 2 and a bit. But, you know, I was like, well, this freezer stuff needs to go, you know. And the thing was, it was such a big job that I actually had to stop doing it because my stuff started to thaw out. I was like, no way. So I'm one of those people who likes to freeze bread, and freezing bread is a good practice because I don't really think it suffers from being frozen, which is pretty good. And so I had to basically put my frozen bread in this big bag. I was like, oh no, it better not defrost. But luckily, it didn't. The only actual victims of the entire escapade was a bag of frozen peas, which is a bit sad, but it wasn't like a full bag, so that's fine, and 2 ice lollies. Now the thing is, I didn't know I had ice lollies in that freezer because they must have been in there, must be from 3 summers ago, because I don't buy ice lollies, and my ex bought ice lollies. So that meant they have been in there for that long. I did have one, actually. Tell a lie, I actually did eat an ice lolly on VE Day for the 75th anniversary. It was really hot, and I was like, I want to have something special because, you know, it's all this crap going on. I was like, okay. So I'm going to eat my ice. I grabbed an ice lolly. I thought, oh, I've got an ice lolly in here. Fruit pastel ice lolly. Do they still even make them? I don't. I'd imagine they probably do. But yeah, but it's good though. Like I say, I managed to get my fridge itemized. My freezer itemized. And I managed to get there's more space in there now as well. And all the stuff wasn't defrosting. Because I'm not joking. When I couldn't shut that freezer door, I know that it's bad for a freezer because it has to work overtime to keep the temperature down. It was like snow in there. I was like, what is all this snow? It's ridiculous. It was so frosty. I didn't notice it because, you know, I've been out and about, like, going to work on that kind of stuff. I was like, I came back one day, I was like, oh my goodness. I was expecting to see a reindeer in there with a red nose because it was lost from Christmas past, you know. But no. Yeah. Anyway, same setup as before. I'm now going to drink my cup of tea. So it's actually a fruit tea because I'm actually now pretending to drink fruit teas again. I go through this phase every now and again, you see, because I understand that I drink too much tea. And when I think about it, I think, oh, okay, so is it because I noticed my teeth are going a bit yellow, which isn't particularly nice. It's like, oh, yellow teeth. Nobody really wants yellow teeth. So I worked out it's probably all the soy milk I drink. So I thought, right, okay, fruit tea. And also in my tea, so every time I have a cup of tea, it got this dreadful soy milk in it. And then I have to have 1 sugar in it. I don't have to have sugar in there, but I choose to have a sugar in there. and 1 sugar every single time. Again, bad for your teeth. So the soy milk's bad for my teeth, and the sugar is bad for my teeth, and the caffeine's bad for my teeth, and all the stuff is obviously bad for my body as well. So I'm trying to go more towards drinking my fruit and herbal teas. I don't know why I said herbal then, because I'm English. It's a herbal tea. Actually, funny story about herbal teas. So once I went to this meditation class, and it was really funny because I was like, okay. So we sat there and we meditated together. It actually cost money to do this, by the way, and I couldn't believe this. The cheek, the audacity of this. It was like, okay, so you pay like £8, and we're going to sit there with our eyes closed. So you'd have to decorate the room because our eyes are going to be closed. And someone just sat there telling us how to meditate for like 40 minutes. Don't get me wrong, it was very nice. It was nice meditating together, but you shouldn't be charging £8 a head. That's ridiculous. But anyway, so they said, like, oh, would you like a tea afterwards? And I was like, okay, thank you very much. And I was like, oh, what ones have you got? And I was like, oh, okay. Oh, blueberry, that sounds nice. So I had a lovely blueberry tea, and it was nice. And I've got onto those herbal teas. In fact, the one I'm drinking right now, just need to move this wire, hold on, because it's near my tea. Oh, sorry. Right. So this one here is called Berry Blush, and it's like, I don't know. You can definitely taste berries in it, I know that. But it's red and it's lovely. It tastes like berries. There's a definite raspberry in there, but the thing is, what annoyed me about that whole paying £8 for that meditation class was, it's like, this is a practice that has been going on for like centuries, if not at least not decades. No, like centuries and like millennia. This has been going on, and it's just information that gets passed down. And I've read many books about this kind of practice, like meditation, and it always boils down to the same thing about counting your breath and focusing on your breath and all this kind of stuff. It's not rocket science. And so charging people £8 is a bit of a thing. It's a bit of a racket, if I'm honest. It's a new age racket. Let's all prey upon the people that are likely to be into this kind of stuff, because usually they're a bit more wealthy and all that kind of stuff. I'm not wealthy. I just like it's just helped me through lots of stuff, you see, and it disgusts me that people charge for that. So basically, at some point, this is the plan. I will be doing a meditation class on the website, which is I'll talk about that in the second half. The second half is all behind the curtain stuff, but I'm excited about it. So yeah. Anyway, I'll be back after this and my cup of tea.
If you have any thoughts, comments, or questions, please do not hesitate to send them to show@maninaroom.co.uk.
So I got a letter the other day from the tax people, and it's always a bit of a worry whenever you get one of those through the post. It's all like, oh dear, do I owe them money? Do they owe me money? It's either good or bad news. It's one of those things you have to open the envelope and be like, right, what's happening? And so I got one of those letters, and there's like, oh, you've got a tax rebate. It's like, what? I'm having a refund. I've spent too much. I paid too much tax. Well, truth of the matter is, over the last year or so, I've actually dealt with a financial shift in my finances. If that makes it does make sense. It just doesn't make sense. That makes any sense. That's the most nonsensical thing I've ever said, I think. And so basically, I used to run a coffee shop. Over a year ago now, so I think Tales from the Coffee Shop can actually be possibly a thing, because there's no comeback anymore. I can also talk about the job I did after that, which was horrendous, working in a supermarket. But anyway, so I was working full time, I was on a salary and all this kind of stuff, and I wouldn't say I was making a lot of money, because I really wasn't, but I was making more money than I am now, because I was working more hours. I was working 40 odd hours, and it was really, really terrible money. The fact that I now work part-time in a shop, and I enjoy my job, and I actually get a better hourly rate than I would do as a manager per hour for this coffee shop place. And I couldn't believe when I left there. But anyway, so I was paying a lot more tax, because I left like May time. It was about May. And obviously June I had the supermarket job, which was also full-time and lots of like hours and that kind of stuff. And a better wage, I'd like to say, as well. So basically I had a little bit of tax I paid, because you pay it. They base it. Oh, you earn this amount of money. You're on this tax bracket, so that means that you can earn up to this amount of money. But they expect you to be earning more money. Well, they expected me to be earning more money than I was, so I actually didn't earn enough money to pay tax. So all this tax I paid up to this point, they just gave me back. It's like, excellent, this is amazing. That's amazing. So, yeah. But the thing was, it wasn't as easy as that. Oh, no. Not as easy as that at all. Because I had to log into the tax website. I was like, okay, this is fun. So we need to know who you are. Put your postcode in. Yeah, no problem. I know what that is. Okay, right. So you haven't got an account with us. So we have to try and work out, by the information that we've got on you, if you are the person that you say you are. So what other places have you lived in the last so many years? This place. Okay, sweet. Have you done this? There's a couple of questions. I can't remember what they were, but it was somewhat easy. But there was one which was so ambiguous and confusing that I had to keep logging in to try. It took me days. It took me 3 days to get into this website because I didn't quite understand the questions. The question was, have I agreed to any hire purchase in the last, I think, 2 years or something like that? And from what I can make out, hire purchase is when you pay for something in installments. So basically you get something on credit and you pay a deposit and then you pay it off every month. That's my understanding of what hire purchase is, right? So in the last 2 years, I have done a few bits and pieces. And I was like, okay, so it's like a hire purchase thing. So I was like, right, I had a new phone in the last... So that was the question. It wasn't like, have you had any of these things in the last 1 to 2 years, 2 to 3 years, 4+ years, never had it, or something like that. That was it. That was the question. It was very strange, because I thought, okay, so in the last 2 years, I had a phone and I went to a music festival. And the music festival, I basically was all like, I'm going to pay a deposit, and I paid it off bit by bit. That isn't what it was talking about. Or my phone, because I'm actually paying my phone off. I don't pay a deposit, correct, but I'm paying monthly to pay off this phone, you see, because that's the way mobile phone things work. Basically, you pay an extortionate amount on a contract, and then you get a phone at the end of it, when really the phone tariff actually isn't that expensive, because you can get really dirt cheap ones. But anyway, so I thought, well, I've got a new phone. That was in the last year I got that as well. And I was like, okay, so those aren't the answers. That doesn't count. And thought, hang on a second, hang on. If they aren't counting those, do they mean the time I had to actually have like a credit check to get this bed? I thought, well, that was over 2 years ago. And I was like, okay, so I took that out over 2 years ago. So the next day was like 2+ and that kind of stuff. I thought, right. And no, that was wrong. I was like, you're joking me. So this bed, isn't it? I had a credit check. I paid a deposit. I paid it off month by month. What are you talking about? Are you mad? But yeah. And then sort of like by the third day, I was like, do you know what? I've never had a hire purchase. Because from my understanding, that's what hire purchase was. No, I was wrong. Well, about those things specifically, but I mean, hire purchase is what I said it was, but that wasn't a hire purchase in their eyes. So I was like, for goodness sake. So anyway, I got a bit of a tax rebate. I was like, wee. So what can I do? So as I mentioned earlier in the episode, I mentioned that I got a new computer, and that's really good, and I'm really enjoying all that, and all this kind of stuff. So I thought, sweet. So I thought, all right, what else could I sort of treat myself to? Because I want to use this money, this money that I wouldn't have had, to do something a bit exciting, something that I want to do. And I thought, right, my thing I really enjoy doing is this podcast. And so what I've actually done, I've actually managed to purchase my own web hosting, and I'm actually hosting Man in a Room myself, as a host and as a web host person, a webmaster. Oh yeah. So now I'm basically doing it all by hand. I'm coding everything by hand. I'm doing it completely off grid and all this kind of stuff. I'm very excited about it because I don't want people listening to this and being all like, well, I don't really want my information being tracked by the likes of Google and Facebook and Yahoo and Alta Vista and Bing and all that kind of stuff, all that kind of stuff. Oh, no. So I'm basically building it all from scratch. But what's actually very exciting about it is that I'm able to host this podcast myself, which means there's actually no limitations anymore. Because when I was using Libsyn, which I love and I recommend highly to anyone who's starting out in a podcast, Use them. They're amazing. They do cost a little bit of money, but they're very good. I found that I couldn't podcast as much as I wanted to on the money that I had because of, I think it's like 50 megabytes or something like that. But anyway, I don't get bogged down in all that stuff. So then I found this other place I can do it, which is Anchor FM, which basically says you can upload as much as you want. Way it's brilliant. But the thing is with those websites, and I've got nothing against Anchor FM, use Anchor FM. I recommend it highly. But what I'm saying is, for me, I'm concerned that if that goes under or gets bought by another company like MySpace or something like that, then all your stuff is basically held hostage. Because I used to use this website called... Actually, I'm not going to name it because there's no need to. But there's this podcasting website that you used to be able to use, Audio Boom, that you used to be able to upload as much as you want, all that kind of stuff. But no, I think it's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I think I had 20 minutes, so I got in there quite early. And but they started charging people for the privilege of having their stuff on there. But then they you couldn't download the files either in an easy way. So, they basically had everyone's files hostage, which I don't agree with. So I'm going to be doing it all myself, which is quite exciting. And at some point, I will be adding the archive. I'm thinking about actually uploading the complete archive of Man in a Room. Like I'm saying, like from years way back when. Or I think because the second series, this is now the third series, if you couldn't tell, because I've had the weird jingle and the 2-month break, But what was I going to say? The complete archive. I mean, I've got this entire thing just sitting on my computer, ready to go. So at some point, I'll be sharing all that, and it's going to be a lot of fun because I'm going to be posting other stuff on my website as well because I like coding and it's a lot of fun just to do it yourself, having no restrictions on what I can do and all that kind of stuff, and I don't have to have tracking cookies on, which I'm very happy about. That's not something I'm a big fan of, as I've mentioned. So, I've started doing a blog as well. You can go to maninaroom.co.uk/blog, I believe. That works. And it should display my blog or blog posts. I'm doing it all by hand. I'm not using other websites or services to do that because I want to do it myself because it's actually not that difficult to do, really. So doing it old school, and I'm enjoying it. And as I mentioned, because I can do what I want on there, I'm going to be making other weird sort of portions of the website because at some point I'm going to put some recipes on there because I've got lots of recipes that I want to share. And also, I want to have it so if I'm talking to somebody, I can be all like, I've got a recipe for such and such. Oh, what's the recipe? You just go to maninaroom.co.uk/pasta, and there's going to be like a cool pasta thing or whatever. And there's also for my own reference because there's this piece of I have notebooks and I went through these incense sticks because incense sticks are good, but the thing is, whenever you try and buy a new one or when you try and remember what ones you like, it's hard to remember because there can be all different smells and that kind of stuff. So it's actually cheaper to just find. Okay, so what you do is you get like a multi-pack and then you rate which one individually. And then you work out which one you like, and then you get them cheaper by buying that one specifically in bulk. One of my favourites is Nag Champa, and so I've got actually rated all the different incenses individually, what they reminded me of and all that kind of stuff, and like which ones to avoid. And it'd be really good to have that as a reference. And I can literally go to my website and be like, right, incense, find out which incense smells like what, or what I think which incense smells like what. And there's going to be little hidden bits of that all over the place. And there will be I will be doing like a sitemap. There's going to be like a really weird sort of collection of weird stuff on there. I'm going old school with it, you see, because I'm trying to get away from the man. Keep off the old radar. Because I just feel that's the way forward, really. Unfortunately, I will have to post this on iTunes and Spotify and all that kind of stuff and Google. But I actually say to people, please use an app or just go to the website and it's going to be a lot of fun because in fact I'm actually thinking about the idea of potentially doing a secret sub podcast, a sub podcast that you can only listen to if you go to the website and find the feed. If you find the feed, you can listen to the secret podcast. That's going to be something I'm going to do in the future as well, so it's all exciting stuff. So anyway, that's it pretty much. I will be back again soon. I will try my best to get on this as often as I can because I can now. So Anyway, waffling on way too long. I will speak to everyone again soon. And if you are listening to this right now, it means that you're already transferred over to the new Man in the Room website. Very exciting stuff. If you want to hear information about that, it's coming up in the last little jingle, you see. Anyway, speak to you soon.
Who is the man? Where is the room? It's some guy you've never heard of, in a room you've never been in. For more information, head over to maninaroom.co.uk.